Hey everybody, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast, and it is the 14th of February, 2023. On today's show, the Pac-12 sends out a desperate message. What does it mean? Also, the Big 12 title race for hoops. How important is it? The one title race in the country that we know will be for a one seed. It feels like it's down to three teams, Baylor, Texas, and Kansas, all fighting for that right to be regular season champion and also get that number one seed. So a whole lot to get to on today's show.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, Locked On Big 12 podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, leave comments, like the videos. That all helps a lot. Every single subscription, guys, really does help the show. Every single like really does help the show. So please, it's appreciated if you guys can do that. If you can't watch us on YouTube, make sure you guys find us wherever you guys get your podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can also follow me at JoshNeighbors_. All right, folks. Today's show also, too, brought to you all by the FanDuel Sportsbook. To mention that, more from them later on in the show, America's #1 sportsbook. So you all might hear some wind today. Crazy windy day here in central Arkansas. So if you guys hear the wind just outside of Studio 1A here in my apartment, that is why. New digs, getting used to it. Sounds like the audio quality is good. Let me know if it's not. Was going to do an all basketball show today because I've been really hitting that conference realignment stuff pretty hard. And then we had a change thanks to the Pac-12. They sent out a statement yesterday, and I think this was very interesting. So I'm going to share my screen. You all can read it if you're watching here on YouTube. If not, I'll read it out loud to you all so we can all see this together. Here it is. Joint statement from the Pac-12 Conference board members. Quote, the 10 Pac-12 universities look forward to consummating successful media rights deal, and then it has an S in parentheses, in the very near future. Based upon positive conversations with multiple potential media rights partners over the past weeks, we remain highly confident in our future growth and success as a conference and united in our commitment to one another, end quote. February 13th, 2013, and all the schools' logos are at the bottom. So there you go on that front. So this is interesting, right? This is a compelling statement to put out. And I'm not saying like they made a compelling argument. I think it's compelling for us because, I laid out the situation right now and how much momentum the Big 12 has, right? They undercut the Pac-12 and getting a TV deal. But even before that, they undercut them and kind of taking some of the best brands out there, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU, UCF, Houston, Cincinnati. Yeah, those four. There we go. And think about where they are, Florida, UCF, growing team. Cincinnati makes a CFP. Obviously, UCF had that really big, important undefeated season and continue to do well. Houston, major media market and serious potential spending-wise there. BYU, we know they've had a lot of success. Also awesome branding. So out of the schools that were left over, had not joined a Power 5 conference, those were kind of the best. And so they solidified themselves. And then they switch commissioners, Brett Yormark, the TV rights happens. And the Pac-12 goes to market first. The Big 12 then goes to market after them, but gets a deal done before them. And the Pac-12 still does not have a television deal. And then this Oklahoma and Texas thing keeps going back and forth, right? And now the Big 12 has figured that one out. And they actually have gotten a way to make some money and not upset TV partners. And also the Gonzaga stuff has been floated out there as well as a basketball-only member, only solidifying what has been the best college basketball conference in America now going on 2-3 years basically at this point. What has the Pac-12 accomplished in that time? Well, they really have not accomplished very much. They've looked around and kicked around when it's come to conference realignment. They've lost their two best brands in USC and UCLA. Two major brands. I think I would argue Oregon's brand is just as strong as UCLA's, but I guess it's a television commodity, right? And they just want to get Los Angeles involved. So they're going USC and UCLA together. So just kind of the power combination. But they lose those two Los Angeles-based brands. And they've struggled to, I'm not going to say capitalize, but like do any good off the situation. And I think because the Big 12 has now finished off their television rights deal, I mentioned this on yesterday's show, they will begin to kick around and go after or explore potential expansion. And so we have that happening. We have the negative article in The Athletic that was really well researched last week, talking about the lack of a television deal, talking about, how there is at least one Pac-12 AD who is upset and frustrated, and how they still think they're going to get a deal done, but also a majority of this is going to be on streaming. And that's not the way it's going to happen for any other conference. And, we hear about the SMU and San Diego State things happening as well, but how much value do they bring? Sure, you're in Southern California again. Sure, you're in Dallas, but once again, those are not two powerful brands commanding a ton of attention. And I think that is why we're now seeing a statement like this. We are now seeing the Pac-12 basically say, we cannot get a television deal done. So what should we do in the interim? We should tell people we're really close to deal or deals plural to make them believe that we are coming along. Things are happening. We are doing well. And I think it's not what they're saying in this statement. It's what is not being said. It's why do you need a statement to tell people that you are working on a television deal? Anybody who is watching this show, unless you all have not been paying attention, that's fair play to you. If you're just catching up now and you're interested, sure. But to those of us in the business, or even as fans, or whatever, fans, business, whatever you want to say, if you've been paying attention to major college athletics, you know that the Pac-12 has been searching for a television deal for a while now. You know that their ballpark was around what Big 12 schools were going to gun for, and a lot of folks thought that the Pac-12 was going to get more per school potentially than the Big 12. And then it kind of came to a place where people were thinking, well, they'll probably reach the same area as the Big 12. And now there is a lot of consternation and some thought and some upset feelings with Pac-12 schools that they're not going to get that. Not only are they not going to get that, the Big 12 is getting probably $31 million per school, especially the Legacy 8. Oklahoma State, Tech, K-State, they're going to clear that much, most likely. And that's without doing bowls. That's without doing, NCAA tournaments, without doing CFP. That's without any of that stuff. So if they're going to make that number and the Pac-12 is not going to hit that all of a sudden, then expectations have really dipped. To boot the fact that, once again, you're going to be on a streaming partner, right? You're going to be on a streaming platform a whole lot. At least ESPN Plus is connected to ESPN, right? If you have games on ESPN Plus, that means you're going to have games on ESPN. Like if Kansas and Iowa State, are playing on ESPN Plus, we still know that their big Monday games or Super Tuesday games, who they're playing, will probably be on ESPN or CBS or I know they're going away, eventually Fox, for example. That is not guaranteed. That is not guaranteed with the Pac-12 situation. And so I think because the pressure is mounting, because the desperation has continued, you're seeing a statement like this. Now, Adam Rittenberg, who I respect a lot from ESPN, I got to work with him yesterday on Big 12 Today. And on Big 12 Today, we were talking with Adam, and he said, I'm not hitting the panic button just yet. But 4 to 6 weeks, come back and talk to me. And this was after talking to a Pac-12 AD. So Adam believes that, if we're looking 4 to 6 weeks here and they don't have something done, then there could be a bigger push to get out. And so I don't think that means the Big 12 should just sit idle, but I think it means it should be making calls. But I think persistence is kind of the idea there. Not bombarding these schools. Hey, come on, but constant communication, understanding the situation, and understanding that as things have been changing, what kind of leverage, or what kind of, not even leverage, what kind of opportunities you could be offering potential future schools. And once again here, from the Big 12 perspective, guys, there are the main factors that have to be weighed are this. Number one, Brett Yormark's position is to forward the Big 12 conference in the future. Number two, the presidents and ADs, their jobs are to look out for the long-term future of their schools, but also to make sure that everything is tip-top shape as it is right now. So an example of this could be, let's just say the brass at K-State are not receptive to the idea of adding ASU in Arizona, Utah, and Colorado if it costs the schools some more money in the immediate, right? If they're looking at a smaller piece of the pie in the immediate by adding those schools. Brett, your marked counter to that would be yes, but if we hurt the Pac-12, the next time the television contract is up, we're a more desirable product, because if you're not the Big Ten and you're not the SEC and the ACC is locked up till 2036, and you want some more of college football, you want some more of these properties, then where are you going to go to get it? And once again, I've been a main proponent of the idea that, hey, if you get the four corners to go, there's a good chance you can probably get Oregon and Washington to at least maybe even part-time go somewhere else, because if you take the four corners, they're at 6. And I don't think Oregon and Washington have a big interest in playing in a 10-team zombie Pac-12, right? So I don't think the stability is there. And I think that maybe you take 2 at a time, right? Maybe you take Arizona and Arizona State, and then they return to 10 by adding SDSU and SMU, and then you take 2 more, and then take 2 more. So it could be a continued process. But I think the Big 12 needs to be scoping out any ways possible to maybe take advantage of this situation. Because when you look at that statement and when you consider what they're saying and what they're not saying, what they're saying is, don't worry, we have got potential partners and deals to be done. And I think there are potential partners. I think there are deals to be done. I just don't think the money, and we've heard reports too, I don't think the money is at the level that the Pac-12 and the presidents and the ADs and George Kliavkoff wants it to be at. And I think that is a major problem, hampering some progress on that front right now. So something to watch on that. But the statement, what it's not saying is that we are not, where we need, we are where we need to be, is what the statement's saying. But also activity-wise, you are not, because you thought you'd have this deal done and you don't. And we are now approaching, we're midway through February, and we're about to hit March, and things get busy, the tournament, and then all of a sudden you're after NCAA tournament, you don't have a TV deal. So a lot to watch right now. And I don't think, who is this statement for is a big question too. I think final thing on this, who read that statement and felt a lot better about the Pac-12's position? And then, guys, this is coming from somebody who covers the Big 12, but has also maintained the entire time that I think that conference probably adds 2 more teams and also probably gets a TV deal done. Now, I'm not saying it's the money level they want it to be, but I think those schools have shown a desire to remain together. And because of that desire, they will remain together. But at the same time, too, at some point, dollars and cents is what this thing should be about. So how much of a financial dip are you willing to take just to remain together, right? And then can the Big 12 make it worth their while? So it's a very interesting conversation. I think the statement just furthers this talk, even more. All right, quick word from our sponsors, and then some Big 12 basketball thoughts. Today's show is brought to you all by the FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Just because the Super Bowl is over, guys, does not mean that, the sports offers out there are over. You guys can go and bet on college hoops. You guys can go bet on the NBA. You guys can bet on conference futures as well. They've got NHL. They've got NFL draft when that rolls around. All of those things are available. They also have college football futures too. So make sure you guys go and check that out. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. They're also the official sports betting partner of the NFL. And also, guys, the interface is just so easy. It's so easy to use. It's the best app that I've used. So once again, go use the FanDuel Sportsbook today. FanDuel, make every moment matter more with the FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, so let's talk some Big 12 hoops on the show. So across the country, and you think about, where are the compelling championship races for the conference? And I'm going to go outside of the Big 12. I'm going to go outside of the Big 12 at this point in time, just to kind of, give us an idea of where everything sits with the major leagues. With the ACC, it is a fun, exciting race. Pitt is 11-3, UVA is 11-3, Miami's 12-4, and Clemson's 10-4. Really, at this point, it feels like it's going to be UVA, Pitt, or Miami. And out of that group, I think we give the edge to UVA just because they've been there before. But right now, Pitt's on a 5-game winning streak, Miami's on a 5-game winning streak, so they're all in really good spots. But I would lean towards UVA's direction right now when it comes to that league. But Pitt and Miami have not been these basketball powers as of late. So how compelling is that conference race? It's exciting with those teams fighting for it, but what does winning the ACC actually mean for those schools? And also, that's not a great league this year, right? I mean, Clemson's in 4th and they're like right on the bubble. Marquette, Xavier, Creighton, and Providence all fighting for a Big East championship. This is an exciting league. Now, do I think we'll get a champion out of this league? The thing about the Big East is a lot of fun is how offensive the league is. It's a really fun offensive league. I think Marquette to me is the best team there. I think Creighton's playing the best basketball though on an 8-game winning streak. I still think like all things told, maybe Marquette's the best team. Creighton's the hottest. Providence has been excellent at home this year at 13-0. And so you have all these teams that are in the mix. Exciting title race, but not a 1 seed on the line. But I would say that's a really exciting one. Purdue is 2.5 games up on Northwestern. I know just beat them, but still they closed the gap to 2.5. And do we really think Northwestern is going to, is going to take this thing from Purdue? No, Purdue is a kind of bona fide 1 seed at this point in time. And then you go down and you look at the Pac-12. This is exciting to me. This is very exciting. UCLA and Arizona is a very exciting combination, but really how good has Arizona been? It feels like they've had too many big slip-ups. Lately, it was the one they played against Stanford. And UCLA is on a 4-game winning streak. They feel like if any team out of that league is going to get a 1 seed, it's going to be them. The SEC, it's kind of a one-team show. Alabama's going to run through that conference, and it feels like they're destined for a number 1 overall seed, right? And so that's kind of where that is trending. You go and you look at the Big 12 guys. I think the Big 12 and then also the Big East, as I mentioned before, those are the 2 leagues I look at and I think about the most compelling and exciting championship races. Texas, 9-4, Baylor, 8-4, KU, 8-4, 9-4, 9-4, 8-4. Texas, Baylor, Kansas. All top 10 teams. I've not seen another league with 3 top 10 teams. K-State's there at 7-5. Iowa State 7-5. Oklahoma State 7-5. I don't think those schools are all the way in it right now. Let's be honest. It feels like really a 3-horse race in terms of quality of play as of late. In terms of like the branding, like where these teams are, just watching them play, it feels like we are at a 3-horse race right now. And we had some big results impacting it last night because Texas Tech takes out Texas. And look, I floated this idea. I said this the other day. I was just talking about this. I was like, damn, there's a good chance that Texas Tech ends up beating K-State top 15 team and then Texas top 15 team in a very short stretch of time. They're now 14-12. They're 3-10 in the Big 10 or Big 12 rather, but they've got wins over Iowa State, K-State, and then also now Texas. They're not all the way out of the tournament yet. They are not all the way out yet. With 2 wins like that in a very short period of time, and the way the bubble is this year, they're creeping back towards the bubble. Do they have to really run this thing towards the back end? Yes. But last night we saw it. Davion Harmon was an animal, 21 points in the first half. To give Texas Tech, they had a 9-point lead at halftime, and then it was pretty tight the rest of the way in terms of like all the way through. But they finished off that game. Harmon finishes with 25. Kevin O'Banner has 19 and 7. Feels like he started the heat up recently. They shoot 47% from the floor, 50 from 3, and 93 from the line. They were on fire last night. They played a really good game, and they hammered Texas on the boards, plus 12 in the rebounding margin. So Texas played a pretty clean game, only 6 turnovers, which was half of what Texas Tech had. But the problem was they were not as efficient shooting, although they didn't have a horrible night. They didn't make their free throws, and also they got crushed on the glass. So Texas Tech, Mark Adams playing their best basketball of the season. Not done yet because of how good the league is, but I think the game was more interesting, not for Texas Tech's tournament hopes, but more for the Big 12, the Big 12 championship race, because Texas can no longer stay in front as Baylor takes care of West Virginia at home last night. And it's starting to feel like 2021 all over again. I had some doubts. I think I was a little too skeptical maybe last week of Baylor's ability. Maybe they are like the 2021 team. Maybe this team does. I mean, I should not be doubting the guards. Maybe I should not be doubting the fact that, last night it was LJ Cryer. I know how good Flagler was, but he ends up with 6 assists last night, and they only need Keontae George to shoot 4 times, 1 for 4, but he had 6 points, 9 boards, 7 assists, and 4 steals last night. Great stat sheet stuffing game from him. Jonathan Chachua played 24 minutes last night, scored 11 points and 3 boards, and they needed that off the bench. Then Langston Love can provide a little bit of shooting. He hits 2 threes last night too. So this team, 14 to 27 from deep, 51% from the floor, and then 13 and 15 from the line. They're just an offensive machine right now, and West Virginia could not contend with that last night because when that ball, the ball can stick sometimes in Baylor's offense. It's not necessarily a bad thing. This team does not always need to be gunning for the open look. This team doesn't always need to run, pick, and roll. This thing can actually be better if it's just spread and just make sure those hands, baby, are ready to go because a shot could be coming your way. I think Jalen Bridges has done a great job in the catch and shoot category. Not a good-looking jumper all the time, but he has been fantastic in that catch and shoot game. And I think that is what has propelled them forward. And that's why they're tied for the top of the league right now. And what makes this great is Texas still has to play Kansas and Baylor. Kansas still has to play both Baylor and Texas. So everybody still has to play everybody one more time around before we kind of get the result of what's going to happen. And also tonight, some pretty important games. These games happening are going to decide right now, is it going to be a share of the Big 12 title? Can somebody win this thing outright? Because you got a game tonight, 9:00 on ESPN. Kansas and Oklahoma State, man. Oklahoma State has been a just defensive machine. Mike Boynton is coaching his tail off. Those boys are playing hard. They're getting great contributions from Boone and John Michael Wright and guys like that. Asbury right now, and Musa Cisse is back healthy. And then K-State at OU, and K-State needs to kind of get things going for themselves on the road. So a lot of excitement right now in the Big 12 hoops. And I'll just tell you guys, we might get 2 1 seeds, but I can tell you one thing for sure. It's very possible we get 2 1 seeds. If Baylor wins the regular season championship, there'll be a 1 seed. If KU wins it, 1 seed. If Texas wins it, 1 seed. Whoever, they'll go on to be a 1 seed. There'll be a chance that Baylor could go on to win the Big 12 tournament, or Texas or Kansas, and that could be what needs to happen to lock them up, the 1 seed in addition. So, I think Purdue is there. I think Alabama is going to be there at the 1 line. I think Houston's got a really good chance to be at the 1 line, but that 4th spot's up for grabs. And look, there could be some attrition. Alabama, if they take 1 or 2 losses, Purdue, I think, is still pretty much entrenched up there. But I feel like it's one number 1 seed is reserved for a Big 12 team. Maybe UVA could steal it if they kind of, they basically just run the table in the ACC and get there. But the ACC is just not very good this year. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Big 12 is a good chance at 1, potentially even 2. Just because the way things are working out. They might need an early round exit from one of those top 3 teams, Houston, Baylor, or Houston, Purdue, and Alabama, to secure that, but it's definitely on the table. All right, one more word from our sponsors today. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to Built.com today, Built.com to find Built Bars, but now you don't even have to go there. You guys can go to Sam's Club or Walmart today and find Built Bars. At Walmart, they have the 4-pack. At Sam's Club, the 13-pack. They've got flavors like brownie batter, churro, all different kinds of flavors. They have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein also in there as well. So it's good. It's good for you guys. Check out the Built Bar today. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can find me at @JoshNeighbors_. Find the show wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. Until next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.